Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Hybrid Now. I am out here cruising around in the new Toyota Prius. If you're new to the channel, please click that subscribe button if you haven't. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. But as I'm out here driving around, I have to do the proverbial things I don't like about the new Toyota Prius. And there's always something you don't like, right? I mean, in any vehicle, no vehicle is perfect, but this one is pretty darn close. I gotta say, these are very petty. There's only three things that I could think of that I've experienced as I rack my brain trying to find things that I really don't like about the car. Let's go ahead and get started. Number one, again, these are petty. Number one is the glass roof. Not the roof itself, but the amount of light that it lets into the car. You know, I think I'm relatively light sensitive with my eyes anyway, so having more light beating in from the top is not real good for me. I'll open them up. Let's see, we're gonna open this one up. I don't know if you can tell much of a difference. Right now it's relatively early in the morning. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, so the sun is not at its full peak yet. But when it is, and it's blasting right through that window, it's in my eyes, number one. And number two, I live in deep South Texas where it is really, really warm. That sun beats through that window and you can feel it. You can feel it on the top of your head. You can feel it on your shoulder. You can feel it everywhere that it hits. It's pretty darn intense. Now, that's not much different than any other sunroof type. This is not a sunroof, by the way. It does not open. You cannot get a sunroof in the new Prius. It's either glass or solid. That's it. So that's number one, the glass roof opening. I think it looks pretty neat on the car, but functionally, not so much. I'm not really a sunroof kind of guy, I guess. Number two, and this one is even more petty and predominant in a lot of vehicles, particularly cars, and that is the arm angle. You know, for where I keep the seat, and it's not because of the gauge cluster. A lot of people out there have complained that you got to have the seat different so that you can see the gauge cluster. I have the seat where I would normally have it. This is how I would normally drive. But I do like to drive around with the windows open. Now, when I put my arm up there, which is where I always rested, I guess I'm kind of an out the window arm hanger, right? The angle is severe. I said this was petty. The angle is severe, so my arm feels like it's too far up. It needs to be more level. I can't get it the way that I want it because of the angle of the car, because of where the seat is and how high the, I guess, window opening is. A very petty thing, I know, but it's something I don't like. I mentioned it's that way in a lot of other vehicles. This isn't the first vehicle I've had that's like that, but I was kind of hoping, because I'm always aware of it, that it wasn't going to be that way in this car, but it is. Lastly, number three, no spare tire. This is my biggest complaint. And this one I think is more valid than anything else I mentioned. There is no spare tire in the Toyota Prius, at least not in the US. I've heard that in some other countries, it actually comes with a spare. I don't know why Toyota wouldn't give us one here in the US, but they don't. Instead, they give us one of those tire repair kits. It comes with a can of gunk that you would spray inside the tire, a little air compressor thing that you would obviously use to inflate the tire and blow the gunk in. It seems to me from reading the directions to do it. I don't dig that. You know, to use those kits, you really have to have the right kind of puncture, and I mean puncture, in your tire. Anything on the sidewall and you're in trouble. Anything that rips the tire more than a very small diameter hole and you're in trouble. You're not going to be able to use that kit to get yourself out of a bind. I don't like that. I like to be self-sufficient. I don't want to have to call somebody, you know, Toyota Care or whatever, and then wait on the side of the road if I'm on a trip or something for them to show up and hopefully get me out of a bind. By the way, one thing I want to mention about that, if you ever run into that and for some reason they have to pick up the car and take it somewhere to have that tire fixed, the car has to be lifted up. I mean, it has to be sitting off of all of its tires. You cannot tow the car with the tires freewheeling on the ground. It will ruin the system. It can damage or destroy the system in the car. So you want to make sure that they either put dollies under all of the tires. I can't remember what they call those. It's like a dolly. It's wheels that they put underneath your tires so that the car just kind of rides on those. Or they lift it up or pull it up on a flatbed, something that the car actually can sit on and not have to roll on its own. Just sounds like a big hassle to me. Wouldn't it be much simpler if Toyota had actually provided a spare and we wouldn't have to worry about that kind of thing? I mean, can you imagine? You've got to have somebody drag your brand new Prius up on a flatbed or jack it up and put dollies underneath the tires so they can kind of skateboard it around to get it to a tire repair shop. And that's the other thing. I mean, think about the time commitment for this. It's already a bad situation. I assume if you're on a long distance trip somewhere, or maybe you're just going to work, you need to be somewhere. Well, you're not going to get there because by the time the service shows up, if you can't use the repair kit, puts it on a truck, takes it to a shop somewhere, and if you're out in the middle of nowhere, that might be an hour away from wherever you are, if you're lucky. All the time that it's going to take to get that fixed when it could have just been resolved with a spare tire. And that's something that I'm going to look into. There's got to be a spare out there, a donut of some kind that you can put on the Prius to get yourself out of trouble. Now, the one thing that I don't know about, because I've never had a Prius before with this kind of drive system coupled with the all-wheel drive system, is can you run the car with a different size tire on the back without damaging anything? That's a concern that I have as well. I mean, maybe you can't even do that. Although, as I mentioned, in some countries, I've read that Toyota is providing a spare. So it can't be that destructive to the system. Otherwise, they would be opening themselves to a lot of liability by providing a spare for anyone. So anyway, those are just three minor things, except for that spare tire. I think that's pretty major. But three things that I don't like about the new Prius, and that's not much. This car, so far, is about as perfect as any vehicle I've ever had. So far, I would put this in the top 5, maybe 3 favorite cars I've ever had. It is just awesome. The job that Toyota did with this redesign is amazing. I was never a Prius fan before, but I gotta say, when I saw this new body design, they won me over. And the performance increase, almost, if not 3 seconds quicker in a 0 to 60 than what the previous version was. Just awesome. Leave a comment if you're in the market for the Prius, or maybe you've gotten one. What do you not like about it? I'd be curious to know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.